What is up, everyone? It is Saturday, October 28th of 2023. We are back with another support group. I call it the Family Education and Support Group, but it's really for any human being here that might be interested in learning a little bit about various topics such as personal development, mental health, addictions, communications, boundaries, understanding how our life experiences impact us in the present moment, even if they happened days, weeks, months, years, or decades ago, and a little bit of everything in between. So this is an interactive community. So for example, Miss Jess, one of our fellow group members, says, "What's good?" Marilyn says, "Hi." And people kind of share from where they are. Feel free to let people know where you're from. I can, post up your comments. I can post your questions, and it's going here. I love this talk. Well, I love talking to you guys. We got Cataline, we got Tony Dupree, Counselor Tony. We got Mom and Dad in the house, which is always nice. And I'm gonna go ahead and talk, and we'll get there. But so quick introduction about myself. My name is Param. I am your weekly host of this talk, and we won't have one next week because of basketball, but I'll talk about it later. Let's be present and not worry about next week. So I do have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy with an emphasis in child development. I am a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor, which also includes addictive behaviors and patterns and processes. I am a high school basketball coach, as I just shared that I'm going to be missing next week because of a game. And I've been doing that for 15 years. Very grateful for the opportunity. And I am in recovery myself too. So, we're all recovering from something that takes the pain away. But I am in recovery, and June 13th of 2008 is the day that I changed my life around from damage and destruction to self and others to healing and recovery and rebuilding, community. And so hopefully my personal experience, my professional background, and all that provides a platform to be able to deliver some content for you that might help you in your life. And pretty much this group is for any human being that firsthand or secondhand has experienced any type of pain as a result of addictions, mental health or mental illness, trauma, or grief and loss. And so I believe that the majority of people, if they kind of tune into what I'm saying, they'll be able to gather something from this. And these talks, they're for free, and they're provided on a weekly basis for the most part. Feel free to share them with anyone you want. I'm not big on plugging all the social media stuff, but feel free to share them with whoever you want, and we'll go from there. So this talk is one that I've done now. This is the 4th consecutive year around the same time of year I do this talk. It's a little dark in this room, isn't it? Let's see. I got this new camera that I'm working with. Let's get a little light in here. Yeah, whatever. As long as you can hear my voice. So let's get right into this specific talk. And what I want to share with you guys is this. Halloween is coming up. And Halloween is a time that we all associate with people wearing various types of costumes and masks. But what if I told you that Halloween isn't the only time of year that people wear masks? What if I told you that people like you and me oftentimes wear masks consciously or unconsciously as a result of our life experiences? The Japanese have a very famous saying that I love, and they say the following: that we all have 3 faces. The first face is the face that we show the world. The second face is the face that we show our friends and family. And the third face is the face that we show to nobody. And that third face is our truest self. Now, when I say that, and we use that beautiful Japanese kind of proverb, if you will, is what does it make you think of? And where does your mind go with it? So I want you to know this, that all of us, including myself, wear masks throughout the year. Now, the goal is to be able to be aware that we're wearing a mask. And the second one is to be able to remove it when necessary, to be able to be fully authentic and fully stand in our own space and our own presence, and to be able to communicate with others mask-free. Okay, so this talk is going to identify 9 different masks, emotional masks that human beings wear, why they wear them, like what's the background. And for you, it's to kind of think of, oh man, I know I wear a few of these, or I know I wear one of these, or I know I wear all of these. And it's not just to say, oh, that person in my life wears this mask. My son, my daughter, my mom, my aunt, my uncle, my siblings, they wear these masks. Well, you know what? If they wear something, you're wearing something too. I want you to know that. And again, this is interactive. So if you want to pause me, slow me down, ask me questions, feel free to, and we'll go from there. So these masks that I'm talking about, these emotional masks that we wear, are a byproduct of adverse childhood experiences or negative experiences through our lifetime that caused a little bit of potentially a negative impact or trauma. Okay. So I'm going to go through them one by one, and I'll give you some good examples to really help you understand and grasp the concept and see which ones you identify with. So the very first mask that human beings wear, and there's no specific order, but it's called the humorist. The humorist is also known as layman's terms as the class clown. We all know what that person's like. No matter what the situation is, they deflect with humor. Man, they could be dealing with something super sad or overwhelming, and somehow they're cracking jokes in the middle of it. Or it's like a kid in the classroom. They're just constantly acting out to the point they got to remove them from the class and say, yo, something's wrong here, right? And the best example for a professional humorist or class clown would be our beloved stand-up comedians. Not all of them. So if you're a stand-up comedian watching this and you're saying, this is BS, I had no negative childhood experiences, I just like to make jokes and make people laugh, that's a different story, good on you. But for the most part, if you read the autobiography of most funny human beings, their childhood is riddled with pain. The person that I love the most when I think of stand-up comedy is, rest in peace, Mr. Robin Williams. Oh man, did I love this human. Robin Williams made human beings of multi-generations laugh in moments of darkness and despair. Robin Williams brought laughter and joy to the lives of people who desperately needed it. I know a personal example. I was 10 years old, 11 years old, and I moved to the country of Iran after living in the United States for the previous 5 years. And I'm in Iran, and man, I'm just depressed. I'm in an all-boys school wearing a uniform. I can't read the language. I can't write the language. I don't want to be there. It's oppressed. It's Islamic. It's just horrible, man. Like, I want to be in the US. And I remember we got this bootleg video of Miss Doubtfire. And I probably watched Miss Doubtfire 1,005 million times. That's not even a number. But God did it take me out of my mind. And God did it make me laugh. And boy, did it bring me some joy in those moments. And Robin Williams, rest in peace, my friend. He absolutely rest in peace. And when you look at Robin Williams' life behind the camera, when no one's around, he struggled with major depressive disorder. When you look at Robin Williams' life, he struggled with cocaine abuse and alcoholism. When you look at Robin Williams' life, man, it was far from funny. He struggled, and he's open about it. And ultimately, it led him that the depression was so severe that a person that successful and well-known had to take his own life because he couldn't live another day feeling the way he felt. So if you are a humorist, just know that the reason from it is coming from some type of sadness that you experienced in your life that was so overwhelming that instead of dealing with it, you just crack jokes about it. Crack jokes about it. Crack jokes about it. You'll never let anyone close. It's one thing for the kid to be the funny kid, but when you're an adult and you're the funny adult that's always cracking jokes and never takes shit seriously, you might want to look at that, right? You might want to look at that. So the next mask that we wear as human beings, let me just bring this a little closer. Maybe the lighting helps. Okay. So the next mask that we wear as human beings is, this light is so bright. Hold on one second. Sorry guys. I'm just messing with some camera stuff. Okay. Give me 1 second. That's a little better. Okay, so the next one that we have here is, I can identify with this. I told you we're all guilty of these, and bam, here I go. The overachiever. So the overachiever is something that is a mask that a lot of people can get away with. You want to know why? Because society rewards you for this one. Society says, oh, you're really, really good at something, or you're really, really good at a lot of things, and you do everything really well, but it comes with a cost. So why do certain people become overachievers? It's oftentimes because they have this innate inadequacy. Like they don't feel good about themselves and who they are and how they live. So they overcompensate with accomplishments. They overcompensate with making sure that they are doing the best of their abilities at all things they can do, and they're burning at the both ends of the candle, and they're just always on the go, and they're trying to get good grades, and they're trying to do good at work, and they're trying to do good at relationships, and they're trying to be the best at everything, because they feel that if by doing so they can receive the love, the recognition, the acknowledgement, whatever you want to call it, of the world. And when they don't get it, oh man, they're like, it's an empty feeling. So if you're an overachiever, there's nothing wrong with that. I want you to know that. However, just know this, that I say this every week, and I'll say it again. We are human beings, not human doings. If you only identify with the things you achieve and not who you are as a person, you're going to be set up for disaster. And overachievers oftentimes come from, dysregulated family systems. If there's a lot of moving, if there's a lot of chaos, if there's a lot of dysfunction, if there's a lot of instability, they think that the X factor is going to be by accomplishing everything I can accomplish. And this can lead into things like perfectionism, which causes, significant impairments in life. And again, society pats you on the back for this one. Hey, society pats the stand-up comedians on the back too. So we got to be really careful when we're wearing these masks on days that are not Halloween. Do we have the time, space, the moment to take them off and actually identify with the person underneath the mask? So far we got 2 of these masks in. And by the way, for the humorist, I'm going to show a video that's pretty emotional from my favorite show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So that's coming at the end, just to personify what this actually looks like. And whoever came on said hi. We had Hamid June, hi. Eileen, what's up? Beta, what's up? Jim, there you are, my man. And Fariba, what is up? So the next one we have here is the Martyr. Let's put the Martyr up, because if we don't put the Martyr up, the Martyr is going to complain that they weren't up. See what I did there? Okay. So the Martyr, or the one that is always self-sacrificing themselves for their environment, for their people. And the most annoying thing a martyr does is they tell the people around them, don't you know how much I've sacrificed for you? Don't you know I've given up my hopes, my goals, my dreams, my ambitions for you? And this is how you reward me? The martyr always feels like he or she is the victim in every circumstance of their life. And I want you to know this. If you are a martyr, first of all, I know you get defensive to be called a martyr. But if you are a martyr, I have compassion for you. Even if I'm saying it with a goofy smile. Do you want to know why? Because at some point in your life, there's a very high probability that you actually were the victim. That you actually were. There's a high probability that your needs never got met. That your self-esteem was never nurtured. That you were never given the love that you deserved. And you know what you're doing now? You're going through life giving everything and anything of yourself to others to just feel loved. And when they don't love you back the way that you're loving, and when they don't give back what it is that you're giving them, your expectations get shattered and you start to feel resentful. See, I'm not saying it's wrong being any of these things. I'm just saying when we over-identify with these personas, it becomes our reality. I mean, someone that is a martyr or a victim, they just happen to be that way every way they go. I was at the grocery store, like at Mother's Market, where, for the most part, people that go to Mother's Market are a little bit more health conscious. They're a little bit more, just they just think a little bit differently. They're willing to pay a premium to get a product that's like, for their health and this and that. And we're just standing in the checkout lane, man. There's, bless their heart, there's like one person working over there. And I'm in the line, and it's probably going to be like a 6 to 7 minute line. And the person in front of me is just losing their mind. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we have stuff to do. We got places to go. I'm here right now. trying to get this stuff. And this literally was happening. And they're making me wait for 5 minutes. I mean, how hard is it for them to get another cashier in this place and make this go by faster? And I'm missing out on the opportunity to go do X, Y, and Z. It's like, yo, dude, chill out. Just wait for 5 minutes. Grab your groceries and walk out. Be grateful you're buying groceries. But that mindset doesn't just apply to the register at a grocery store. It applies to their loved ones and their relationships and their children. Parents oftentimes that come from dysfunctional homes themselves, and then they also have a loved one who is struggling with drugs and alcohol, they sacrifice everything of themselves for their loved one. It's codependency 101, but they're doing it with good intentions. And that's the other thing. You know, a parent that sacrifices everything for their kid, they're doing it with good intentions, not knowing that the help that they're giving them is actually crippling them and enabling them to continue doing what they're doing. That's a whole different talk, but it's something that it's very important to consider. So the next one that we have here is, and again, if you have any questions about any of these, feel free to ask. You know, this is what this conversation is for. The next mask that people wear when it's not Halloween is the mask of the bully. So we all know what a bully in school looks like. Right. And I know I've experienced bullying when I was a child growing up. You know, I remember vividly going from the US to Iran and sitting in school, and like, it was just tough. You know, they make fun of you for being an American. I'm like, well, I don't know. I was born in Iran. They make fun of you for, you know, not being able to read and write, or the way you speak has like a certain accent to it or sounds cute or funny. And then when I came to the US, you know, in my high school years, my formative high school years, you know, sophomore, junior year, nobody was overtly outright like mean to me, but I would get really bad comments and stuff about, like, you know, if you look at my face up close, I don't know if you can see, I have all these like acne scars on my face. And I think this camera is a little like polished, so it's removing them. But I mean, I was to the point that I was afraid if someone touches my face was going to bleed. And I had so much social anxiety. I have this thing called vitiligo, which is like these little white dots, spots that I have on my hand, and I get made fun of for those, or people wouldn't want to touch my hand because they thought it's contagious. And that shit just hurts, you know, it really hurts a human being. But here's the thing. Let's just say there's a fifth grader that's a class bully, like one of those fifth graders that we all know about that just like says mean things to kids and hurts kids and does harmful things to kids. And everybody gets mad at the bully, right? And I'm not justifying their behavior, by the way. You know, I'm not saying it's right to be a fifth grader and be a bully, but a fifth grader is oftentimes what, like, you know, 12 years old, 11 years old. If you had a chance to watch that bully walk home all the way to his house, like bird's eye view, and go inside of his house and put a little camera and observe what happens inside that kid's house, there is a very high possibility, probability, predictability that child is experiencing some type of bullying behavior inside the home, or is observing and watching some type of bullying behavior inside the home. He is just doing to others what is being done to him or what's familiar to him. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that's the reason why. It's so painful to watch that or experience that you go out and you do it to other people as a coping skill. It's another mask that people wear. Now, when it's a child, we can all say, well, that kid is a victim of their circumstances and surroundings. But where I start to have a challenge and an issue is if you know that you're a bully and now all of a sudden you're 18, 20, 25, 30 years old and you're still bullying other people, see, it's no longer on the environment that brought you up. Now it's on you, because if you're aware of it, you must do the work to change it. Because if you don't, you will do to others what was done to you, even if it was painful. And if you want to break multi-generational patterns of dysfunction and multi-generational patterns that get passed on, the negative ones, you got to break that cycle. So finding out, why do I lash out or act out and bully other human beings? Why do I exert my dominance? And by the way, bullying sometimes can come in the form of intellectual stuff. So some people that are really smart, they can use intellectual kind of comments and they can intellectualize things. They can use sarcasm as a form of bullying somebody else's intelligence. I mean, it's ridiculous, but the bully is someone that at some point in their life was feeling it. Nobody just randomly becomes a bully, ever. ever. So that's another mask right there. And let's see what Marilyn said here. My grandma always says, by the way, grandmas are cool, because they got some wisdom and they got some nuggets. My grandma always said, if you can't say something nice to someone, you don't say nothing at all. Just give them a smile. Kindness goes a long way. Bullying must stop. Yeah, I mean, the wisdom of all generations is beautiful. And there's a book there, Marilyn. I have a talk. I don't think you were with us when you weren't following us consecutively when I created it. But it's a book that I read that inspired me to do a talk. So go look it up. It's called I Learned Everything I Needed to Learn in Life in Kindergarten. I love that topic. I love the title so much, but it pretty much, one of it is that, one of it's that. Let's see. It seems that the bully feels so powerless that is the only behavior that makes the bully power. Yeah, it's a pursuit of power. It really is. There is no ability to go and feel that they are something in life because they feel this big. So when they go and yell and scream and push and act, it makes them feel bigger. But they oftentimes go home and they remember that they feel this big, and they repeat the cycle. Let's see what Jess says. This is exactly what happened with my son's bully a few years ago. Before we moved, I seen him walking to and from the bus stop by himself, even from like second or third grade. We didn't live in a nice neighborhood either. It was pretty decent walk, and his parents never came to the parent-teacher things or events. The one time his dad did, he was awful. And that's, first of all, Jess, I want you and your son, to know that I'm sorry that, your son had to experience that. It's not fair to the child. But I'm proud of you for being big enough and having a compassion enough to not personalize what's happening from this little child, and to know that there's a bigger picture thing going on. Because if a kid, and not saying like a kid's walking home is a bad thing, but if it's a bad neighborhood and it's always all the time, and the kid's walking a long distance and he's just always kind of, down and out by himself, if that's happening out there, it's also happening in the home. Like, that kid ain't going to a home that's emotionally present and loving and caring. He's going home and there ain't no one there. And when you said, the father finally showed up, they never came to anything. When he came, he was awful. If someone's awful at a parent-teacher meeting where you're supposed to put your best foot forward, imagine what that person's like behind closed doors. Imagine what that person's like behind closed doors. So very good lesson to teach and to use your personal example for it. Thank you. So the next one that we have here is number 5, the control freak. Some of the parents are like, oh, he's getting personal now. He's starting to talk about us. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I'm talking about you, control freaks. So how does one become a control freak? It usually happens as a response to adverse childhood experiences, when our environment, the people, places, and things in our environment as we're growing up, were out of control. Maybe there was family discord, and maybe there was fights, and maybe there was abandonment. Maybe there was a lot of moving. Maybe there was a lot of noise and chaos. Maybe there was volatile socioeconomic status. Maybe it was just a very difficult upbringing that was out of the control of the child. So the person starts to overcompensate by engaging in thoughts and behaviors that are kind of overly controlling. This can happen with our environment, things like OCD, people that have obsessive compulsive disorder that are in a constant strive and need to control things. It could become with our physical bodies, people that have eating disorders. The only one thing you can control is yourself if you can't control the environment. It can come in relationships, and people do this with their loved ones all the time. So the control freak is a response. So remember, it's a response and an adaptation for someone who growing up experienced adverse childhood experiences that were related to things being out of control. And the control freak annoys people because nobody wants to be around one. I call those helicopter parents. They're just always around, and it's like they want to know every little detail. And for them, they're like, I'm doing it because I love my kid. And their kid says, I can't stand my mom or dad, man. They just control every aspect of my life. So the intention's good. I love my kid. The actual interpretation of what they're doing is this person just doesn't trust me. This person hates me. This person is just X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z. And by the way, Jess just included one more thing. We seen him a year ago, and he was hanging out with much older boys. It's really sad. People always say these like little kids that go enter gangs, 12-year-old hanging out with 16, 18-year-olds, is like, hey, why are these kids hanging out with such older kids? Why don't they hang out with kids their own age? Because when they go hang out with the older kids, it's the first time in their life that they experience love from somebody that's older than them. And we all need that. If you talk to gang members about what they get out of a gang, do you really think they talk about, oh, I get my watches, or I get money in my pocket, or I get like, respect? Oh man, you know what they say? They say I get love. I get family. I get loyalty. That's what they're striving. That's what they're looking for. So the next one we have here is the self-basher. This is the person that their environment was so hypercritical on them and was so overly intense on them that they start to believe the stuff that was told to them. I tell parents all the time, be careful for what you tell your children, because one day it will become their inner critic, the inner voice inside their mind. So if you always tell your kid, you're not good enough, you're not doing it right, you should have done it this way, do you really think they take that and say, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Mom. I appreciate you, Dad, for telling me that I didn't do it good enough. They start to internalize that when they told me that, that means I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate. I'm not smart. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve. And guess what? That inner critic becomes their inner voice, and it starts to become their identity. They over-identify with it and believe the BS that they're telling themselves. And they bash themselves, and they bash themselves, and they bash themselves. Oh, I can't do it anyways. What's the point? Why even try? Oh, I'm stupid. How many people say like they're stupid when they're not? How many people say they're not worthy of love or happiness when they are? Where do you think all this comes from, man? It's a mask they put on. Adaptations to adverse childhood experiences. Man, it's sad. When I see someone being super critical of themselves, you know what I tell them? Start to, at the end of every day, identify 3 things that you did well. Just 3. Maybe it was a conversation you had with somebody. Maybe it was a few tasks that you had to complete that you got done. Maybe it was the way that you loved yourself and you went around the block and took a walk and ate an apple and meditated and slept early. Whatever it is, start identifying the positive, and the positive will grow. Keep focusing on the negative, and the negative is all that there will be. And Mr. Jim, having to deal with the core belief of not being good enough can be a real challenge. Yeah, and so Jim used the clinical world. Jim's a counselor, if you guys don't know. These thoughts, these ideas, these experiences start to become something called a core belief. Now, a core belief is something that we hold as true about self as a result of the life experiences we had. However, it's not the truth. It's just a belief that we have that we over-identify with. So he says that it's real challenging to overcome it is because we over-identify with it. And it's trying to say, it's like, hey, how can I overcome who I am? It's not who you are. It's who you think you are. It's who you had to become. The beauty of life is that we can transform our story and we can create new core beliefs, ones that are around and geared towards our personal and professional development, ones that align with our true self, who you actually want to be in life. Nobody wants to be these things. Nobody wants to be the class clown. Nobody wants to be the overachiever. Nobody wants to be the martyr. Nobody wants to be the bully. Nobody wants to be the control freak. Nobody wants to be the self-basher. Yet so many people are all of those things. Curious to know why. The next one that we have here is something called the people pleaser. This is my codependents are like, oh, I like this one. The people pleaser just kind of says what they think that others want to be told. They do what they think others want to be done. and they go where they think others want them to go. There is no sense of self. They get their entire self-worth of becoming who and what they think they're supposed to become for the environment and the people in that environment to approve of them, accept them, and ultimately love them. But guess what? It's never enough. And in that pursuit of being accepted and loved, in that pursuit, they completely get disconnected and lose touch with who and what they actually are. And there's a lot of people in the recovery rooms that say, hey, I'm just like a chameleon. I could be anything I want to be. I could talk any way I want to talk. I can do what I got to do because that's what I am. It's like, no, man, that tells me who you exactly are not. There is no sense of self. There is no truth. There is no realness, authenticity to you. If you could be whatever, if you could be whatever color paint that you have to be to look on a certain way on a wall, what does that say about you? And here's the reason why people do that, by the way, is because it all comes from low self-esteem. It all comes from lack of self-worth. It all comes from inadequate receiving of this thing called love growing up. And they go on this constant pursuit. People pleasers, they have a really hard time and they start to experience a lot of things around the world of anxiety and depression. A lot of things. The next one I have here is the isolationist. So we have this word introvert and extrovert. Those are kind of healthy expressions of human behavior and personality. We can be a little bit introverted. We could be a little extroverted. We could be a little bit of both. We could be more leaning or more dominant on the other one. But the isolationist is completely on the extreme introvert side. And here's the reason why. Because if I go put myself out there, if I connect with other people, I'm going to get hurt. It's safer to be by myself than it is to be in the world. I'd rather do everything on my own than kind of expose myself to the possibility, the potential of letdown. And the introvert experiences extreme loneliness and sadness in life. Extreme. Somebody that's an isolationist, because what is the human experience all about? It's about connection. We've talked about in these rooms that the opposite of addiction is connection. So the opposite of misery and sadness and loneliness and all that stuff is connection. So if you're an isolationist, I get why you do it, because the world hurt you. But I'm also telling you that the cure for the sadness and loneliness is connection. Double-edged sword. Eventually, you got to start to learn to trust, and you got to start to learn to try, and you got to start to take some risks, small ones, to break away from that. And you might always be okay with being an introvert, but not an isolationist. And the flip side of it is this thing called the social butterfly. And we're like, oh, it must be really cool to be like that person. Man, social butterfly can't be by themselves. It's the opposite. And by the way, why is that the case? Because when they were by themselves growing up, man, they were probably just around some intensity. And all they wanted to do was get the heck out of the house. Get the heck out of the house and be anywhere but there. They just wanted to be with people 24/7. They can't be by themselves. They just go and go and go. And they just kind of feel like that's the way that they're going to be okay. But as soon as the lights are off and the cameras are off and the people are gone and they're by themselves again, they get very, very, very uncomfortable. The exact opposite of the isolationist. So the social butterfly is draining, oftentimes to keep that persona up. Things like drugs and alcohol have to kick in, or just some type of you got to be a chatterbox. That drains the heck out of me. I'm a big talker. I could talk for 12 hours in a day, but trust me, I got to go home and plug myself into the wall, if you will, and just disconnect. So I want to show you what one of these roles looks like. It's a 3-minute clip. Yeah, Jim just said it right there. We all need solitude sometime, but none of us need isolation. Isolation is not for humankind. So I'm going to show you guys a video here. I don't know if it's actually going to work right, but I'm going to try it. Just someone give me a thumbs up if the audio is good. And I really got to figure out this new camera because it's overexposed right now. Okay, much better. And let's get into this video and see if I can show it. And we'll go from there. Present. Share screen. The entire screen, Chrome tab. Almost there. Sorry, guys. Okay. So let me just 1 sec. I just want to pause this. Can you guys tell me if you can someone just tell me if you guys can hear that? Like, was it working? Because I want to give you a context of what I'm showing. I'll wait for someone to say if it was working or not. No, okay. Nothing yet. So let me try one more time. So I think I'll get it to work. But what I want you guys to know is my favorite show growing up was this thing called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And it was Will Smith. And he was a child from Philadelphia, from like the hood, and adverse childhood experience. His dad abandoned him when he was a child. He eventually moves over to Bel-Air, where he had an aunt and uncle somehow. But his dad pops into his life after a lot of years, like 14 years of not being there. And okay, it's okay. I'm talking right now, but I'm going to put the video up in a second. So the dad comes into his life, and Will Smith is like a freaking humorist. The humorist mask, he's a funny guy. This scene is going to show you what's underneath it and how he quickly taps into that mask before underneath it comes out. So I'm going to try one more time. Share screen, share the entire screen. Let's do this one. And Chrome tab. Okay, share the entire screen. Here we go. Let me put this guy up. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, sorry guys. Long story short, I want to tell you guys what happens, and I'll end it with this. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I should have got more prepared. So his dad comes, and one more time, his father says, "Hey, sorry, son, I gotta go." And yeah, it's okay. You can hear my sound though, right? Are we able to hear my sound at least? Yeah, sorry guys. We're almost done here, anyways. Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Okay, so his father comes in, and they're about to go on this road trip for a few weeks, and he's so excited, man. He comes in, he's like, "Dad, I'm here," and his dad's right about to walk out, and he says, "Hey, son, something came up, and I got to go again." And immediately, Will just goes, "Okay, whatever. Take care, man." He's like, "Well, we'll do it some other time." He's like, "Yeah, whatever. We'll go." And the dad walks out, and Will turns around, and his uncle's there, and his uncle's like, "Hey, Will, I'm so sorry that your dad did this to you again." And then Will says, "Oh, it's not a big deal." And he's like, "You know what? Actually, I'm happy that he's gone, because all the girls in school, it's summertime. They're going to be wearing nothing. They're going to look good. I'm going to go play ball. I'm going to party. I'm going to have a good time." And then he's like, "Will, it's okay to be mad." And he says, "Why should I be mad? It's not like I'm 5 years old and I'm waiting at the window asking my mom when dad's going to come home. It's not like I had 14 birthdays without him. It's not like I learned how to do all these things without him." And he starts to get angry. And then he starts to say, "You know, I'm gonna graduate college. I'm gonna have myself a bunch of families, a bunch of kids, and I'm never gonna, be the man that this guy was, because he never taught me what it's like to be a dad." And then it's like a really overwhelming scene, and then he just starts crying, and he says, "Why can't he just love me, man?" So immediately when he got hurt, he started cracking joke. Underneath it was, "Why can't he just love me?" And I want you guys to know that whichever one of these masks we shared today, underneath it, there is a wounded self. This mask is protection. So, in conclusion, Halloween is not the only day of the year that people wear masks. This talk was to inform you and notify you that all of us, including myself, can wear these masks any day of the year. But please make sure that you take these off once in a while and you look at the person underneath the mask and honor that person and make sure you connect to that person, because the Japanese say we all have three faces. The first face is the face we show the world. The second face is the face we show our friends and family. And the third face is the face we show nobody. And the third face is our truest self. So to that known self be true, my friends. Make sure you tap into that. I love and appreciate all of you. I'll see you back, not next week. I'll put an announcement. I got basketball, but the week after that. Take care, man. Bye, everyone.